Qi is your portal to understanding the divine, understanding your own energy. The basic idea in Taoism is that everything moves. Everything. So think about it. Just from the smallest subatomic particle to the largest galaxy, everything is in movement. We have completely messed up our society, and we've lost all the ties that once pulled us together. If I free someone from their problem, I free myself from
You're actually
that
freeing
problem.
yourself, yeah. Hi friends, I'm Dr. Victoria Ronaday. There's a light inside you the world teaches you to forget. This space helps you tune out the noise and tune back into yourself. Welcome to the Inner Calling podcast. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Now, many people talk about energy and how humans are energy beings. But this often gets dismissed as woo-woo or out there. But I really do believe that everything we see is energy. There's energy from the sun, the food we eat, the breaths we take. We know from physics that matter is energy. And experientially, you can feel the energy of people when you're with them. But I find myself wanting to just understand this more deeply. What does it actually mean to be an energy being? And how do we live in relationship to that in a way that improves our health? So I asked myself, who would be a good person to explore this question with? And I thought of Deng Ming-Dao, who is one of the foremost authorities on Daoism, where Qi, vital life force, is central to the whole philosophy. It's my pleasure to welcome him as my guest today. He is a renowned Chinese-American author, artist, philosopher, and spiritual teacher. He's written 14 books, including 365 Tao, Daily Meditations, which offers guidance on living in harmony with self-trust and the universe through the Daoist way. His work has been translated into multiple languages and read around the world. Welcome, Ming-Dao.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
So what is Qi?
Okay, so Qi has a lot of different definitions. So if your listeners will be patient, I'll unpack it slowly so it makes sense. So Qi can be both a noun and a verb. So it can mean gas, vapor, air, steam, your breath. It can also mean to be angry or to annoy someone. So now, if those range of meanings are confusing, it's a signal that we can't look at Chinese culture from a Western perspective. And the Chinese culture packs a lot of different meanings together at once. All right, so let's start with each person. You have breath. You breathe. That can be called Qi. If you get angry or throw a temper tantrum, you are emitting your Qi. If you're saying, hey, talking to a person is a waste of time, you say it's wasting Qi. So now in Taoism, Qi is your portal to understanding the divine, understanding your own energy. Okay, now let's take it further. Do you know that weather is called the sky Qi? And we can take it further still. All energy is called Qi as well. So there's a cosmological context. So in Taoist writings, when they talk about the beginning of the universe, they say that Qi or energy appeared. So Qi can range from your personal energy all the way out to the cosmic energy.
Interesting. Is it the same Qi in everything?
Yes, it's the same word. Oh, and this is a chance for me to explain the ideogram. So there are two parts to the ideogram. The top part shows vapor, and the bottom part shows rice. So how could we interpret that? You could imagine a bowl of rice and steam is coming off of it.
Uh-huh.
You could say that's Qi. You could look at the fact that we have to eat to have energy. So aren't we converting rice to our breath, our energy? That's another way to look at it too.
Interesting. And so the same Qi is in everything? Like the Qi that's in me is the same Qi that's in you, is the same Qi in the universe?
Yes, because everything has energy, doesn't it? So Yes, the energy that makes the world move is also the energy in the abstract.
You said that chi is the portal to understanding our own energy. Can you explain more
Yes.
about that?
So
As
that
I
they're
thought it was our energy.
limited to your energy. And the fact that there's a commonality envisioned between all different kinds of energy, I think is important. Now, scientifically, we know that all energy is exchanged. So it's quite reasonable to think that our personal energy is exchanged with the energy from our environment. And after all, don't we get all our energy from the environment? We eat, we have to drink, and we have to breathe, and we get warmth from the sun. So if we locked someone in a airtight box, they would die. Why? Because their energy exchange is broken, yes?
Right.
So it's just that we're not going to be so silly as to say, hey, my breath is exactly the same as the cloud, which is exactly the same as the sun. We're more sophisticated than that, aren't we? Our energy is always in exchange with our environment. So doesn't that give you some opening into understanding spirituality as well? Because is your spirituality just in you? I don't know of a single religion that doesn't focus on things outside of a person.
So is chi the same thing as a person's spirit?
Okay, this is confusing because in dictionary definitions, qi can be defined as spirit. But for the Taoists, they separate spirit out. All right. So they have a sequence called the three treasures. And the three treasures are Jing, Qi, and you can hear that word, and Shen. Okay. Jing means your essence, and it means basically the your basic vitality, your hormones, and so on. Qi is your breath and therefore your energy, your stamina. And spirit is, what we commonly define as spirit without getting too complicated about it. In the Taoist view, that sequence is absolutely necessary. So if you don't have essence, you can't have qi. And if you don't have qi, you can't have spirit. So, in other words, for the Taoists, spirit is not just something that's abstract and somewhere out there. Spirit needs energy. And so the purpose of Taoist practices is to compound that energy and to support your spirit.
And they distinguish it from essence.
Yes, they do. So essence is viewed as sperm in men and hormone
Let's
in
define it.
women.
Okay.
Okay. So it's your biochemical basis. But if we took all the chemicals in your body as necessary as they are, it wouldn't necessarily be enough to animate you.
You
So
know,
you have to have that raw basis for your energy to be compounded.
and do they believe that people have different essences or different energies within them, that each person has a personalized type of energy or essence?
The answer is yes. Just as we all have different personalities, we all have different energies. This is the very basis of traditional Chinese medicine, isn't it? So when you go in, they diagnose you because you're not going to be the same as the next person. And so the answer is yes. And then they carry it further. Some people can have what is regarded as evil spirits, evil energy,
Oh,
aggressive energy, and so on.
one of the things I've been wondering about is why is it so important to know about qi or to be aware of one's qi? There's many people that don't believe in qi or believe that they have energy or are energy.
Well,
Most people,
how,
I'd say, don't believe
oh,
in qi.
really? Ask those people if they believe in breathing. I don't think you'll find anyone who doesn't believe in breathing.
Right. The energy that breathing can bring. That's what qi is,
Well,
in
that's
simple terms.
part of it, right? But we know that there is, and this is not a weird Chinese idea. Western scientists are discovering or have written about the fact that our mental states are linked to our breathing. And do you see how this is a handle, a way to start to control your mental states if you find them that necessary,
It
right?
reminds me a lot of Hinduism. where they talk about
There's a
breathing.
similarity.
Yeah.
So in Hinduism, the equivalent to qi is prana. And in Chinese culture, we have breath training, which is called Qigong. I'll explain it in a little bit more in a minute. And in Hinduism, they have the idea of pranayama. And so pranayama and Qigong are two parallel systems. Qi is the same word we've been talking about. Gong means training. So how do you train your breath? Or how do you use your breath to train your body and your greater self?
And what happens when qi is blocked or someone's not in touch with their qi?
Okay, we're talking about qi inside the body.
Yeah, inside the body. Yeah.
So here's the simple premise of Taoism and traditional Chinese medicine, that we are naturally healthy, and that they define that as your qi flowing unimpeded through every part of your body. That is the definition of health. So as soon as there is a blockage or an excess of qi in some part of your body or a deficiency of qi in some part of your body, in other words, it might not be flowing very well to that part, or it might be flowing too strongly to another part, then you have imbalance. And that imbalance is the basis for all illness. If you have a germ, well, then that is going to block your flow of qi. If you have cancer, the very definition of cancer is it starts to appropriate all your body systems, right?
What about depression or anxiety? How do they affect or block qi?
Well, again, in Chinese culture, there is no division between mind and body. So this idea that, oh, it's just in your head or it's just physical, that idea doesn't exist in Chinese medicine.
It's so interconnected.
It is completely interconnected. So if something is interconnected, that means the system can be thrown off, quote, from either end. So if I get in a traffic accident and I break my leg, that's obviously going to create a blockage. If I'm upset, I'm depressed, I feel like a failure, my boss is mean to me, I have marital problems, don't you think that results in physical problems?
Right.
Okay. And if
Like from the
somebody is
neurotransmitters and all the chemicals and the hormones from a depression, all
right,
affecting
and
you
they go into
physically,
they go
and
in
then
two
those
directions.
actually creating physical blocks?
Yes, they go in two directions, right?
Yeah.
Right. Your neurotransmitters go in two directions. So either you have a problem physically, or you have a problem mentally, but it's still going to, your system is going to interact. So if you're happy and you like where you are, you have a good family and so on, then you're going to feel a certain way, aren't you?
Like your chi will be more
Your chi
healthy,
will be flowing more. First
flowing.
of all, it
That's how.
won't be blocked. And then it's you, from a natural perspective, you're going to enjoy eating. You're going to sleep well. Maybe you'll go out for a walk. It's not a big deal to go to the store.
It's all interconnected,
It's all interconnected,
not just
right?
within your body, but outside.
Yes, and that's the whole point. We talked earlier about exchange of energy. All our energy is in exchange.
Like with the nature and our environment,
Of
or with
course,
each other. Like
both.
like my
Because,
chi's exchanging with yours right now.
well, first of all, your chi is exchanging with your environment,
Okay.
right? I see flowers behind you,
Yeah.
right? The air is of a certain temperature and so on. You are literally in exchange with your environment. Now, our
Yes.
exchange now is virtual, online, but we are being stimulated by our conversation.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And that is going to stimulate our flow of chi as well.
So you are influencing my chi right now, and I can influence your chi.
Absolutely. That's why it's so important for people to be careful what they expose themselves to.
We got to be careful what energy we expose ourselves to. I really believe in that. It's so important.
Oh,
That's an
totally.
extremely important part of mental and emotional health is protecting your energy.
Yes, yes. And so if you live in an environment in which you're always being discouraged or put down or suppressed,
Yes, that affects your energy.
well,
Yeah.
of course, and it's no revelation that poorer people in the United States don't live as long. Is it just because of money? Or is it because of the stress, the disrespect, the repression that they experience day after day after day? Of course, it suppresses your energy because you literally start to say, why am I trying? Why don't I give up?
What I love about qi and this concept of energy and qi is that it makes a lot of sense. We're
Because,
energy beings, and we're constantly, in exchange with energy in our environment. The sun, flowers, nature, all of it. And
food,
each
air,
other. And, there's times when I'm in therapy and I can feel other people's qi or energy.
of course.
When
And
when
so,
you walk into a room, you feel people's energy.
right. And I think this is why some people really love to go to concerts or sports events
Uh-huh.
because it's a bath of like
Lot
of
of
thousands of,
energy.
and you're all
Amazing
cheering
energy.
for the team. Yeah.
Yeah.
It becomes addictive. Don't we say, oh, someone who stays at home all the time that's not a very good life,
Right.
right? Well, look at all the people, younger people, who like to work in cafes.
Yeah.
Well, why? Just because they can get a latte whenever they want? No, they want to be surrounded by all the kind of activities that are going on, right? And that
It
nurtures it.
stimulates the flow of their qi.
Oh, yeah.
Now, one of the things that confuses me is why is it so important for qi to flow? Like, why is it that when it's blocked, it leads to disease?
So the basic idea in Taoism is that everything moves. Everything. So
Right.
think about it. Just from the smallest subatomic particle to the largest galaxy, everything is in movement. Nothing stands still. They might have different time frames that we can't conceive of. So therefore, chi has to move too. Don't we call it stagnant air? We understand this. Want to drink from a stagnant pool? We
Right.
want to drink from flowing water, don't we? Because it's cleaner and purer. As soon as things start to slow down to the point of appearing to stand still, disease can take place, yes?
So you're saying qi is in constant movement?
Of course it is. It's not a thing, it's a movement. Aren't you inhaling and exhaling now?
Right.
As soon as you inhale, doesn't that oxygenate your blood? Isn't your blood in turn flowing too?
Well, see, now here's where I'm confused. Is qi something you can see visually? Like, people can't measure qi.
In Western culture,
Yeah.
we think that things have to be measurable. And if you needed to do that, you can measure how much someone's lung capacity is. Don't they stick that, what is it,
Yeah.
oximeter? They put that on your finger.
Oh,
They're
yes, yes.
measuring it
Yeah.
right there, right?
Yeah.
So even Western doctors are measuring your chi. How much oxygen do you have in your system?
They just
That's
measure
the
it differently.
consequence. That's the consequence of the movement of chi. And your blood better not start pooling anywhere. Your blood has to keep going. And you don't want to stop breathing. You are in motion. Your chi is in motion all the time.
Is it like at the level of our cells? Like every cell is moving and every cell is involved with our qi?
Yes, the short answer is yes. So it goes all the way down to the cellular level. Yes.
Okay, that's really, really fascinating. Thank you for explaining qi so well.
Sure.
Oh, it sounds like it's not just a Taoist concept, it's a Chinese medicine concept.
Yes, and there's such an interrelationship between Taoism and traditional Chinese medicine that
Okay.
sometimes it's hard to separate the two. One has influenced the other.
Well, I'm curious to get your thoughts on Chinese medicine versus Western concepts of medicine. Should we
So
integrate
this,
them or?
so the simple answer is one is reductionist and the other is systemic. Okay. And in Western medicine, we want to know what's the one thing that's causing this thing?
Right.
What is my one problem?
What's
What
the
is it?
observable,
Yeah,
tangible
right.
thing that I can
Okay.
treat?
It's not a put down. I think Western medicine has come up with just evolved in a way that's just amazing, right? You and I wouldn't even be alive were it not for Western medicine.
Right.
And if I was in a car accident, I sure as hell would want to go to an emergency room, right?
Or what?
Western medicine is good. Chinese medicine is also good, but it looks at the medical condition differently. It looks at your whole system And in addition to movement, it wants to know if all parts of your body as a system are in balance with each other. You see, nobody cares about whether the medicine you take in a Western context might affect something else. They just dismiss that as a side effect. And if you don't have a side effect, oh, good enough. But they don't really know what else is happening with that medicine. They're
Right.
only looking at, well, does this bring your blood pressure down? Does this help your diabetes? And so on. And if it has other permutations, there's a range that they find acceptable.
Right.
If you have a slight stomach ache, if you have edema, if you have lower energy, well, we're keeping you alive. That's good enough.
What is
Yeah.
the Chinese approach?
Chinese approach is to look at your body, your mind, and spirit as a whole system. So they would not find it acceptable just to fix one thing if it caused depression. They're going to say your depression is part of your illness. Do you see that? They're not just going to say, oh, you have a problem with your liver or whatever.
Right. They're going to say it's interconnected.
It's interconnected, right?
They
And they're
acknowledge
going
the
to look for all.
spirit.
When you go, the way they diagnose you is they take your pulse. Now, I know that doesn't make any sense from a Western standpoint, but this is how Chinese doctors begin the diagnosis. And they put 3 fingers on your wrist, and there are different pulses that they feel for. Their diagnosis is going to be 10 times, 12 times more thorough because they're looking at your whole system. What do I get when I go to the Western doctor? Blood pressure, temperature, weight. That's enough.
Right. And you're saying the Chinese, and they get 3 pulses.
There are 6 pulses on each hand and probably a couple more too. But I haven't studied this very closely. Okay, that's the first thing. They're going to look at your eyes. They're going to look at your skin color.
Is this all to assess your qi too, or no? Is it unrelated?
Well, it's not just your qi, because in a traditional Chinese medicine context, they're looking at what's called the 5 phases. And the 5 phases correspond to 5 major organs in the body. They're probing those organs to see what they're doing, right?
Right.
So if your liver is overactive, well, they have to think about that. If your kidneys are, weak, they have to think about that too. There's no such thing as saying, I have a cold, and they go, here's the bottle, the one pill everyone takes. No, they're going to give you acupuncture for you, and they're going to create a herbal formula just for you at that moment.
From a Western perspective, it feels like they're doing something, but when I look at the Chinese way through Western eyes, I feel like that's doing nothing. I'm not used to it.
You think it's doing nothing? Why?
I don't know. My Western mind is like, okay, like I'm sick, please give me a pill.
Right. Because, this is not a put down, it's a reductionist approach.
Reductionist.
In Western culture, we believe in causality, don't we?
Right.
But to make it simple, we want to know what the single causality is.
Right. It's very linear. I find Western things are very linear and logical, like A to B. Yeah.
Which is good for someone like me because I need something simple, right?
Right.
But that's not the Chinese approach, which is you exist as a complex system in an environment that in itself is a complex system, because they consider weather, by the way, as how it affects you, and even geography. So they want to look at you as embedded in this vast system. That's why they have to look for all these factors. And then, therefore, their treatment is multifactorial too, right? Because it has to be fit in with that complicated system. And by definition, that complicated system is not going to be the same for everybody, nor will it be the same for you from day to day. You will change from day to day. There's traditionally, no telemedicine. You go see somebody. And by the way, that person also lives in your community. It's somebody you've known all your life. Oh, that's Dr. So-and-so. They know what's going on with you, with your family, with what's going on in the area. Let's say there are wildfires and you come in with breathing problems. They're going to take all that into account because they live in your community.
That makes sense. Now, one question I have is, I feel like mental health is so stigmatized in Chinese culture. Why is this if they consider mind, body, spirit?
First of all, we've been talking about Taoism, which is
Right.
a kind of high philosophy, and they think about that. Secondly, yes, it's stigmatized in the wider culture, but when you go to see the doctor
Hmm.
or you go to see a priest in a temple, all those defenses are dropped. So I went to one temple that was in Taiwan,
Hmm.
and I'm walking up to the temple out of the subway. Everybody is just plain ordinary talking. So they get in the courtyard, they drop to their knees, they start screaming and crying and begging. I'm like, What happened here?"
What did happen?
Well, because there has to be a certain point in which there's a pressure valve that you can express yourself completely in certain contexts and you won't be judged for it,
Oh, right.
right? But if you are out there with Auntie so and so and you say, "I'm depressed," oh my God, you're embarrassing your family, you're bringing shame on everybody, blah, 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 blah.
Right, right,
But there
right.
are small contexts in which all those defenses are
It
dropped.
can be expressed.
I went to see an herbalist once in Toronto. I went there because the people I was traveling with had a problem. And it was just like, they weren't feeling well, respiratory and so on. We went in there. He looked at them and he told them what their symptoms were. They didn't describe anything. He goes,
Oh, really?
"Look at this. Your urination is like this. Your sleep is like this. Your appetite is like this." And the guy goes, "Yeah, yeah." And they go, "Okay, we'll make you some herbs."
That's
That's how
cool.
good they are.
That's,
Not a single Western doctor I've been to, they can't even remember my name. They get all
that's
my records wrong, you know? And
right.
there's nobody who, in a Western context, says, "Oh, hi, I see what your problem is. It's this, isn't it?"
No, right.
No. And that now we're
It's all
in,
self-directed, which is a problem sometimes because you as a patient don't know what you don't know,
right. But so it's good to talk to someone who does know.
right? And then why is it important to know about qi? Like, why is it so important to be in touch with our qi and to let it flow?
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
when you wake up in the morning, how do you know you're doing well? You feel energetic? Like you feel like you can take on the day, I can do this?
I guess there's a checking in of energy,
Yes, you're checking your level of energy, aren't you?
right? It's
Right?
subtle, but it's there.
Also, you can, I'm going to say this cautiously, you can self-diagnose some of your problems and especially your mental states by looking at your own breathing. So if you're taking care of children and they're involved in something really fascinating to them, don't you see how their breathing gets really deep, almost stops, like they're fascinated by a little butterfly or they're reading a book, right?
Hmm.
When they're excited, so excited, okay, yeah, I just. Okay, our breathing reflects our mental states. So if you can observe to yourself that it's like, why, why am I like this? Then you can start to say, wait, maybe there's something that's going on that's bothering me.
It's important to know your qi so that you are in touch with how you're feeling and how your energy is doing. Your
And then you
health.
can leverage that
Mhm.
into a spiritual practice. That's the whole point of Qigong.
How do you leverage it into a spiritual practice?
Remember, we said that breathing is connected to our mental states. So, can we use breathing to make ourselves calmer, for example? Well, if we can make our exhalations longer than our inhalations, our minds will become sedated. What do we do when we need to get ready for a big task, lift something, conduct a lot of work or something? We take deep breaths. So I can do this. Take another deep breath, and right, we're not controlling the ratio at that point. We just like, I need more energy. I need to be able to deal with this. So those are two, yeah, anecdotal ways in which we use everybody, every single person uses their breath to control their attitude and their minds, right? And what happens even now, this has nothing to do with Qigong. You see a friend and they're upset. And what do so many people say? Breathe, right? Because instinctively they know that our breath can help us access our mental states. Now, they just don't happen to have studied it to the point of getting it down to a count or anything like that.
And is Qi how you got into martial arts, or was it unrelated?
I got into martial arts first, and Qi and the study of Qi is embedded in martial arts. So that's how it started. And I point out that we in America don't live in an intact culture as we would if we were in China, in ancient China, right? And so in ancient China, martial arts is embedded in the culture. In the old days, there was no police force. And if you were a wealthy person, you had to have a private security force wherever you went. If you wanted to ship something like from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco, you would have to hire a convoy company that came with guards to make sure it got across the country.
Oh, so it's much more embedded in the culture and society.
Totally. And so my current teacher, who was born in Beijing, came from a prominent family. When her mother went out, there were four men around her at any time, two in front, two in back. And that was necessary. My current teacher was telling me about her father, who said he wanted to learn martial arts, as of course, now more than 100 years ago. Oh, he went down the street to master so and so. There was someone in your community, or probably many people in your community, who taught martial arts, and they were embedded in the community, not as a business, but as part of the community. And so if there was a problem, a problem of security or danger, so they would be part of the community discussion, right? Let's say someone from the next village wanted to, bully everybody or whatever. So it's part of the culture, part of daily life. So if you want to learn martial arts, you just like you went to the store, you went to the temple, you went to get someone to repair your pots and pans, you went down the street to learn martial arts. That's been lost.
Was martial arts something you do for spiritual purposes or just physical or both?
Both, because first of all, I wasn't a great athlete by any means. And so I was interested in spirituality and I was interested in martial arts. And then I read, oh, well, wait, there's this idea that you can practice martial arts and it leads to spirituality.
How does that work?
Okay, so remember I told you about the three treasures, right?
Yes.
Of Jing, Qi, and Shen.
Right.
Martial arts is an excellent way to build that, right? And you have to have Qi or energy to do martial arts. And martial arts in turn will give you energy, right? Don't they tell us to walk and to weight lift and do exercise if we want more energy in a Western context, right?
Yes.
Eating, living, getting up, even watching TV takes energy.
That's the counterintuitive thing about energy. Sometimes you think if I rest, I'll have more energy, but it turns out when you move and exercise, you actually have more energy.
Right. And let me just say something as a sidebar comment to that. For most Chinese people, for most of Chinese culture, 80 to 90% of the people in China in the old days were agrarian. So they had to work in the fields every day. So the idea that you
Right.
could rest it's just not part of life, right? If you could rest, then you grab it, but it's not, there's the idea that I can spend 6 hours, catching up on Netflix. That's completely foreign,
Right.
right? And they had to walk everywhere. There's no such thing as public transportation in the old days. And who could afford an animal? When I went to visit my wife's village in southern China, the farmers there walked 3 or 4 miles just to get to the fields.
Were they really old and healthy?
Yes, they were all really healthy. And then they worked all day and then they had to walk back. A few of them who were lucky, they had maybe a donkey to pull a cart. So they slept on a pile of hay while the donkey found its own way home. Well, no one's going to begrudge them that, right? After they worked all day. And no Western toilet, all squat toilets. So you asked about flexibility. Well, they were way more flexible than we are, right?
Right. But you're saying martial arts gets you in touch with the three treasures?
It does. It helps you build them and so on, right?
Right.
So part of the idea of Chinese martial arts and yoga, since you invoked that earlier in our conversation,
Right.
is form. So in yoga, if you take a form, a shape with asana, why does that work? Is it just because it's stretching you? No, it is making your chi conform to that shape. Now, if you're doing Chinese martial arts, there are sets, and those sets are classical forms. And when you take those forms, the chi says, "Oh, I'll fill that form." And so by going from form to form, you are helping the chi move around your body. Okay. Now, there's one other thing. Remember, you talked about blockages of chi? Could you use that intentionally? That's what Chinese martial arts is.
To use a blockage intentionally?
Yes. So by taking a certain form, you're blocking certain parts of your body off briefly so the chi is pushed in a certain way.
Oh, and then what does that do?
Well, let's say, you know how you're mixing something at home? You're going to go like this with the, let's say it's rice and water. You're going to go like this. You want it to mix up. You're going to push all the water to one side, all water to the other side until it's all together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here. So let's say I'm concerned about opening up my lungs. Well, if I can take all the air on this lung and force it over this way and then force this all back this way, well, then that's exercising me internally. That's the logic.
Oh,
So it can be very subtle. So have you noticed, if you've ever seen someone doing Qigong, they might hold their hand this way or might hold their hand this way or so on. They're trying to keep the energy from flowing a certain way. You've heard of meridians, right?
I have, yeah.
So those meridians can be manipulated. You want trying to send energy through, but if I go like this, then I'm cutting things off. So I'm going like this, opening, closing, opening, closing. Also, when I put my fingers together, there's a meridian in each finger. I can touch the meridians together and then have the energy flow from one meridian to the other. That's why there's this gesture in Chinese martial arts, right?
So that's why they do that? That's so interesting, because they're manipulating their chi
Yeah, yes.
for certain purposes.
It has a martial arts purpose too,
Oh,
but as its purpose in internal martial arts is, so for example, I have a meridian in each finger. What if the energy isn't flowing to those fingers very well? Well, it has to go through this point. And what if it can't get to this point? Well, it has to go through here, my wrist. If I go like this, I have to close this and stretch the back. And then like this, I'm going to open it up again.
Mhm.
And that's going to help me get energy through to these meridians. If I hold my fingers like this, then I want the energy to combine. And remember this point here? I'm putting pressure on this point right here. So those are all subtle ways in which the manipulation of qi is embedded in the postures of Chinese martial arts.
and it helps with vitality.
Back to what you're saying about blockages. If I have a hard time getting my energy to my fingers, then my vitality is not going to be very good,
It
right?
reminds me a lot of exercises I read in Hinduism where
Of course.
they're manipulating different parts of their body to invigorate it and
Yes.
bring the energy there and focus it there on that part of the body to revitalize it.
It's very much parallel. Those are called locks or bandhas in
Right.
yoga. So
Right.
this is a kind of bandha, right?
It's fascinating that these systems developed in parallel and they're so elaborate.
They have a lot of time. No
Modern-
electric lights at night, no television, generation
Right.
after generation. They have a lot of time.
That's what fascinates me. The modern mind is like, we have modern science now. But the more I study these old ancient systems, I'm actually really fascinated by how complex they were and how deep they went and scientific they were about investigating things like qi.
Yeah, might that be a mistake of our culture? We
I
think this
definitely think so.
improvement better. And we think that all the old stuff, oh, well, that's been replaced. Look at the number of people who are turning to alternative medicines. And as someone said, if Western medicine worked perfectly, people would not be looking for alternative medicine.
Have you been to very good ones?
Unfortunately, in my perception, the last 10, 20, 40 years, there's been a decline in the ability of all kinds of doctors, from Western to Chinese.
Why do you think that is?
On the Western side, I think it's the stupid insurance system. They spend more time keeping the record to justify the visit than talking to me.
The human gets lost in the system, in the bureaucratic system of
Yes.
insurance.
And lost for what? Money. And this is the big problem, right? Before, in an intact culture, they were serving people to heal them. It's a business now. And for example, I went to see somebody who kept me waiting for 45 minutes, talked to me for 3 minutes, and left. And for some reason, I saw the bill for that. $1,000. All right? So how does that make any sense? And then in Chinese medical practitioners in the United States, I think they're afraid of liability, right? And also, I think they want to get you hooked. So instead of treating you one time for acupuncture, what they could do, oh, you can't come back and see me 10 times. They dilute the herbs and they just help you a little bit. Well, then they got a customer that is going to come back, aren't they?
Right.
So there's so much corruption. And then now the herbs have declined in quality. There's a kind of herb that is a form of ginseng. When I was young, those herbs, they were as thick as my finger. Now I don't see them anymore. They're about, matchstick is maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, but they're like the thickness of a chopstick. I can't even find that kind of herb anymore, that quality of herb anymore.
So in your opinion, what can we all do to take care of our qi? Would you recommend martial arts as part of a daily regimen?
Yes, I would, but it's not for everybody, of course. But if for an ordinary person, can you get good sleep? Can you eat well and drink well? And can you live a happy life? Can you at least walk, a little bit each day? Because remember we said qi moves. Well, if you walk, then your blood circulates, your breathing rate goes up, your heart rate goes up. That's all circulation, and that's going to help cleanse your body and invigorate you.
Mm-hmm. Ever since I started thinking more about my qi and being conscious of it, I've felt better and better. I feel much more vibrant and a sense of vitality because every day I'm consciously nurturing my qi.
Right, but I would go more basic than that.
Mm-hmm. Or what I eat, or how much I sleep. All of it affects the qi.
But see, you're looking at it in two ways that we've been talking about during this conversation. One is you actually looked at yourself. You checked in with yourself, didn't you?
Right.
Maybe you weren't always doing that before.
No, I don't think I was. But I think that's why this qi concept is so helpful, is checking with your energy. And sometimes people say, oh, energy, that's such a new age type of concept. But I feel like it's just obvious.
It is just obvious. And then you have a measure. If you feel your qi is down, then you're going to say, well, why is it? Am I working too hard?
Yeah. And when I feel my qi is down, it feels like very sluggish.
Well, of course.
Very slow. So that's the feeling, right? When your qi is not well, it feels like sluggish or tired, depleted or empty.
Because it's not moving.
Yes. That's exactly it, 'cause it's not moving. If I'm sitting for a long period of time or just on my computer, I don't feel well.
Well,
it's not good for qi. That's why I had to enroll myself in martial arts. Even though I'm working really hard in a workout, my qi actually feels better.
Right. And so at that point, is that not good enough? You doing it, you enjoy it, you feel better. We can spend a lot of time analyzing and say, why?
Right.
But, it's just
your
like
personal experience. Like
and it's
that
okay.
can be enough sometimes.
It is enough.
That's really releasing for you to say. I feel like so many times we all feel like, listen, this experts say we need to do all this and do all this, but then you forget about your own personal experience.
Right. And by the way, isn't our personal experience valid?
Right.
Is it perhaps the most valid of all?
We know, I mean, each of us intuitively know we are energy, but in society, it's not widely validated. So then you may feel like you don't really think of it that way yourself, even though you intuitively sense it.
So why? Why is that true?
I think that's the thing about society and the conditioning we receive.
And I think more specifically, that conditioning
Conditioning,
was the
yeah.
capitalist idea of labor. You work 8 hours so that you can get money. And if you get money, then you can go on with the rest of your life. We
Well,
don't
they don't, I mean, the capitalistic structures, they don't want us to be in touch with our chi.
exactly
Because
because
if
they
we were,
want
we
you to
wouldn't be
be
working. It would not
they
be
want-
healthy for our chi at all.
right. And that attitude has spilled out over, everything.
And like you were talking about the healthcare system,
Right.
they're not concerned about my chi. It's
No,
not, the
no,
system is not
no.
set up to be concerned about chi. It's concerned about like what's billable, what are these codes.
I have the overwhelming feeling every time I go to a medical practitioner, they just want me out of their office as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And then as a patient, you feel like you don't want to impose. And then, yeah,
And now it's getting to the point where, we have a virtual meeting, or
exactly.
just
Yeah.
send an email. And you go, well, I have a stomach ache there, right? And then God knows how many hundreds of dollars they billed for that. You
Wait,
see, they're cutting all these corners. And in the process, the humanity of the patient has been forgotten.
as a therapist, the COVID and everything moving to video, there's something really being lost. I love being in the therapy room and just like feeling another person's chi.
Not to put you on the spot, but can you treat someone the same way in person as you do by telemedicine?
It's a little different of a connection. There's still a connection, but something if it felt is missing. Something felt is different when you're in the room, when you're with someone. The presence. I enjoy feeling people's presence.
I do too. And as a graphic designer, I always ask for in-person meetings. I get more done in person than I ever do, on the phone or whatever. For one thing, I can go like this. I can cover up one half of the design, go, is it better? I can't do that, by
Right.
Zoom. And they'll go, oh, yeah, that part's okay. Well, if that part's okay, then I'm going to move my hand over. Well, what's wrong with that part? Oh, well, it doesn't go with that.
There's something more human when we're together. Uh,
Isn't that
yes.
our
Something
obligation?
more
Be human?
intuitive. Yes.
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 Yes, and I'm all for rationality, and intellectuality and theory and so on, right? But that can't be all it is, right? You need to know all that to apply it. And why are you applying it? To solve a human problem.
And one of the things when I'm doing martial arts that I really enjoy is when we're fighting each other. And you get really into a different kind of state of mind. It feels like your mind, body, and spirit are just one. There's
Yes.
no thinking, you're just responding if someone's attacking you.
So don't you think that returns you to a much more fundamental mode of behavior?
That's what I really love about martial arts.
And by the way, as much as you and I value education, life is not all intellectual.
And that's what Western society, I feel like, is forgetting. There's so much focus on thinking, but we also need to balance it with the intuitive.
Yes, and that again, I think that is the unfortunate legacy of the Cartesian idea, right? The more important stuff is that it's also been our society's disrespect for craft, for labor, for physical activity, and we don't value someone who works with their hands, right? And just by the happenstance of our current society, someone who's a CEO is going to make more than someone who's a plumber.
Right.
But that is not necessarily because we thought out a value system. That again was the accidental outcome of the way our economics worked, right? And we tried to get away with as much as possible by exploiting as many people as possible. But then we couldn't quite exploit the people who were coming up with the schemes and they got everything for themselves. So then there
Right.
was a skew towards people who were shrewd and cunning and gamed the system and outthought everybody. And they grabbed all the money for themselves.
Right.
But now we have the cultural consequence of something that was never intended.
I really appreciate your point because I think about that a lot, how society affects our daily lives.
And how much of society is accidental. Right? Look at the influence of TikTok. You can't engineer that. You can't figure that out, but it's skewing everything. Look at the fact that we now have the far right in control of our country. It's skewing everything. And
Mhm.
what are they doing? They are making conscious attacks against culture, against diversity, and against higher education. I mean, the ignorance of that is appalling.
And it affects all of us very deeply,
It does. And not only that, people start to believe it.
which is why I became very fascinated with spirituality because I think it's a way to transcend the influences of society and remember what is true.
It is if you listen and if you make it happen in your life, which is very hard to do.
Well, I've been reading a lot of Joseph Campbell recently, the famous
Yes.
mythologist. He was talking about the death of religion in society and how that's really affected us as a people because we have nothing to hold on to, the myths and the stories that help us make sense of our lives and give a moral and ethical structure
It's
to them.
worse than that because there's no end to the need for stories. But we get, with our penchant for shortcutting and manipulation and so on, there are plenty of stories. Now they're more false.
Mm-hmm.
What are conspiracy theories but a convenient story to explain things in a way that is like, oh, that must be true because it's easy and simple.
So we don't have like these grounding foundational stories in our lives, and they're easily replaced with these false stories. Or because as
That's
humans, we're really attracted and drawn to stories. We're meaning making.
right. But, but I don't know any kid that doesn't grow up with, like, say, Aesop's fables or so. We
Right.
have the stories.
Hmm.
And, arguably, the kids' movies all are stories,
Hmm.
and they generally try to convey good values and so on. But then somehow when we get into young adulthood, those stories get left behind. And why? Celebrity becomes more important.
You think so? I was thinking it's because like one reason could be because you just start to think those stories are silly. They start as a child you feel like they're true, but then as an adult you're like, oh, that was just childish, thinking.
Well, I don't know. I think that certainly with all those fairy tales and so on, there's still a grain of truth to every one of them.
Oh, I believe that too, but I think so many of us just feel like, oh, we need to leave that behind, become adults, But the truth is that what we knew as children was actually quite true.
Well, here's the distinction that people miss. These things happen by themselves, the results of ethical living and so on, should be almost automatic. But the problem is that we live in a society where there's so much power, so much manipulation, so much repression, so much selling that has become the substitute for moral behavior.
Selling.
Buy, buy,
Right.
buy. I'll get you anything you want on your doorstep by tomorrow. That becomes the satisfaction.
It's a whole cycle. You work all
Yeah,
the time to buy things to feel
yeah,
happy, but then you
yes.
don't feel happy. Yeah.
And that's so stupid.
Mhm.
And society has made us into sheep. And all we are, our greatest function in the society is to be a consumer, which is stupid. And obviously, hello, who does that benefit? Not you.
Right.
They're going to tell you that that vacuum is a good one.
Right.
It's
The
going to make
billionaires.
your
Yeah.
life easier. And
Right.
then it breaks in 2 years, and then you have to buy another one. All right. And in the meantime, just follow the money. What is it? 60% of the people in the United States don't have enough, savings and so on. Well, there's something obviously wrong there. Back to what we were saying about how Chinese doctors and martial artists were embedded in their community and you could get anything you wanted in your community. It means that our community is so fractured, we cannot get what we genuinely need except for junk delivered to us, food
Right.
delivered to us. All the way, people are taking their cut, their commission, right? It's
Right.
all about making money for other people.
Our communities are so fractured. I remember when I was a kid, I'd walk to school and the man man would stop the cars and he'd wave at all of us as kids. There was a
Yeah,
feeling of community. But
that's
these
right.
days,
And
everything's very disconnected. We don't, you check out at the grocery store and you go to a machine.
yeah, now go back to that man waving at you. See, earlier in this conversation, we were talking about being in a system with our environment. That doesn't happen anymore. In fact, if a man slowed down and waved at you, maybe we'd have him arrested, right? And so do you see how that one interaction reflects balance? You belong.
Yeah, there was a feeling of
Feel like you
belonging. Like
belong.
yeah,
He feels like I could do something nice for a stranger. And I'm going to reassure that little girl that she's safe, that
that's
it's okay for
right.
me because I'm a nice guy. I belong to this community. Hi. And do you know how often we hear this cliche? Oh, I felt seen.
Right.
Well, you were seen,
It's so, yes, as a child, it was very powerful type
and
of thing, and that
not for
feeling is
any
missing
other
now.
reason than yourself. What do we have now? Oh, no. Do I have my makeup on? Do I look good? Do I have a resume? Did I make $1 million? You have to be like, so many things to be seen now.
Just to
Otherwise,
be
it's like, oh, I
seen,
don't want to know you.
yeah, and just to be seen as you are. That's
Right.
so
And
rare.
you were seen because you belonged. Don't people say now they feel like they don't belong anywhere?
Yes, yeah.
We have completely messed up our society and we've lost all the ties that once pulled us together.
So what is to be done from a Taoist perspective?
Well, you can't change,
We just
ways
got to flow with
things are
it.
going. No, you have to accept it. The first thing is you have to know the truth.
The truth would be the Tao,
Well, the truth would be
one
the
component.
doubt. The truth is also what we've been discussing, which is the failure of society.
Mhm.
By the way, if you look at Taoist texts back from 2,500 years ago,
Do they talk about being aware of society and how it can be broken?
totally,
Oh, that's awesome.
I get
That's what I
tired.
love about spirituality. It's countercultural.
I get tired of people say, well, Taoism is not political. My God, you read any of the texts, they're always talking about politics, right? And they're talking about the corruption that back then.
Mhm.
It was the corruption of the aristocrats, the officials, and the king, and the selfishness of the king, the cruelty of the officials. And, if you've read any Chinese history, it was corrupt in every dynasty. The officials were taking food, levying taxes, having people executed left and right.
So what did the Taoists say to do about it?
Well, they say you shouldn't necessarily get involved in those things, right? So
It's
the
they talk
first,
about living a moral, ethical way.
yeah, yes. And here's the big challenge. They say the sage takes care of the good person and the not good person. The sage rescues everyone. Wait, I have to rescue everyone? That's the challenge that they put to us.
Hmm.
So we do not get to just say, oh, well, problem with
Good.
the
Right.
officials, not my problem.
Right.
And so the sage or a Taoist is supposed to help people, but they're not supposed to accrue fame. They don't try to get credit for it.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, that's only going to make you more vain.
Hmm.
But
Get more attached
secondly,
to money, maybe,
yes,
when it
and
corrupt you.
it corrupts your action, right? Your action is no longer pure selflessness. Your action is for the sake of something. And that's what non-action means or wu wei. When you do something for the sake of getting something for yourself, that action is tainted.
It corrupts it.
Yeah. So if the man who waved at you said, called your
Me
mother the next day and
$5.
says, I was nice to your daughter. How about $1? Well, that's obviously screws the whole thing up, right? You know, but maybe, someday, let's say, to extend the idea, maybe someday when you were grown, you met that same man and maybe you could have helped him. You see, then it gets repaid.
Hmm.
But we don't say, oh, I'll help you if someday you help me. We don't do that
Why is it important to have pure actions?
because it generates no consequences.
Is this like the concept of karma in Buddhism? Is it related?
Yes, it's like it. So it's not identical, but it's like it. So
Mm.
if I help someone for the sake of, hey, maybe she's going to do me a favor, then haven't I tainted my karma that very moment by thinking,
Right. The intention behind something affects what you get out of it.
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
we disdain that too in our culture, don't we? The essence of the scientific method is the researcher's mind has nothing to do with the outcome. So we have disdained intention, but
Mm.
intention is really important.
It's very
That
powerful.
man, he had good intentions. If he had bad intentions, that would be super creepy, right?
There would be different outcome that would have come from that.
Totally.
Yeah.
And now the thing is that we just go, well, what would happen between her and him? But also, what happens inside him and what happens inside you
Right.
ought to account for that as well.
There's something that happens when he was waving. It's probably really great for him internally, for his
Yeah,
chi.
he was happy.
Yeah. And then he passed that chi on to me.
Yes, exactly.
It affected my chi.
Right. And do you know what? You can't put a price on that, can you?
No.
And here's the other thing. Years later, I want you to think about something that might have been bad. And when we do bad things to people, those reactions and thoughts and memories can last for years too, can't they? I'm sure as a
Like
psychologist,
trauma
yeah, or
affecting
just,
us.
microaggressions, insults, sneers.
These things affect our chi for a lifetime. They're like
Yeah.
baggage on our chi. Do the Taoist or Chinese medicine never talk about negative
Well,
influences on your chi that are like baggage and cloud your chi?
well, I mean, they will put it to the point of where our mental state will cloud our chi,
Oh,
right? I
okay,
don't know
that's what
that they
they
got to
have.
that micro level, but I think that this is why it's good, A, not to be bad to people, and B, why we have to save everyone. Because people are constantly being picked on and stressed and so on. If we're strong enough or wise enough or powerful enough in the community, by helping people, we can help them have good lives because then they have good memories. Or maybe at best they don't remember at all. Oh yeah, there was a problem, but I don't remember it, right? But when it's a bad problem, then that becomes a serious impediment to them.
With everything going on in the world, it feels very much more like people are not willing to help each other and people can be outright rude. Why would a
You,
person be motivated to be kind to people when we're so rewarded for being hateful? Or when we see it everywhere, it's more
okay,
normalized.
the short answer is you cannot be that way. I cannot be that way. Do I want to live my life being cruel to other people, causing misery? And do you know there are some people who like to do that, who like to make people feel bad? They feed on that,
So,
but they're
right,
miserable people.
right. We don't need to let them affect our chi, but that can be so hard, you know,
That's
to
why you
protect our chi.
practice. That's why you practice. So when you walk into, say, an academic meeting or, you meet a client, they don't know that you do martial arts, but that strength stays with you. Okay, let me answer
It's true.
the other question because it goes to the very heart of Taoism. The idea of Tao is that this universe is called heaven and earth. They don't call it nature, they call it heaven and earth. That's important because neither heaven nor earth alone can provide us a full environment. It's their cooperation or their movement that gives us the environment that we have. Heaven and earth are impartial. They do not have any favorites. They do not listen to any prayers. They do not do anything for any particular person. They provide all the resources that we need in life without asking anything in return and without any conditions.
They provide all the resources we need in life.
Yes, think about it. Air, water, food, weather. Can you make any of that? And do you have to pay for any of that? I mean, I'm sure people would love to do it, but they can't. They haven't figured out a way to tax the air. So everything that you need comes to you for free. And has there ever been a single moment in your life where there wasn't any air? It's there all the time.
Right.
And so heaven and earth are our example of blessings offered freely and unconditionally. If we want to follow, well, the natural way, you've heard people say, I want to be natural, blah, 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 blah. That means to the Taoist that you have to be unselfish and unconditional, just like heaven and earth. Now, what is the outcome of that? Unconditional support, life. And you cannot be alive without what heaven and earth give you for free. So if we want a standard about what ethical behavior is, it comes down to this one question. Are we supporting life or not? So if you help heal somebody, if you're the man who waves to a little girl, if you feed a hungry person, you're supporting life. Then you are with Tao.
Then you are in balance.
And you're in balance with your environment. You have, in gratitude, passed on the gifts that came to you. Yes? And you can't hold on to anything, but you can help other people. Now, if you see somebody who's suffering, who can't get themselves out of their problems, whether it's like, I can't lift my grocery bag into the car, or I can't get rid of the voices in my head, and if you have the ability to do it and free them from their problems, why wouldn't you? Because you will be supporting their life.
You would be supporting their life and yours by being in line with your personal Tao and the universal one.
And that's something not a lot of people understand. If I free someone from their problem, I free myself
You're
from
actually
that
freeing
problem.
yourself.
I can't necessarily correct my problems, my traumas, my bad memories. But when I keep someone from having those same issues, I know it wasn't necessary for that to have happened to me. This is the antidote to the selfish attitude that you outlined earlier. It's all for me.
Our healing is interconnected.
Right, that's
Yeah.
right.
Thank you so much, Ming-Dao.
You're welcome.
Thank you. If you'd like to support the show, the most helpful way would be to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or YouTube or Spotify.